And to talk about the new high in India's defence production, joining me now is retired Commodore Mukesh Bhargav, Director, Defence Innovators Industry Association. Commodore Bhargav, good evening and welcome. India recorded its highest ever defence production to the tune of 1.54 lakh crore in 24-25 fiscal. Sir, given the uncertainties in current geopolitics, how do you read the significance of this milestone?
Very good evening to your viewers. I think it's a very good question that you have asked. Our defense production has been growing at a very fast pace, almost about 16 to 18% CAGR. And that has been one of the major decisions that the government took to involve a greater role of the private sector into the defense manufacturing. As you know, traditionally it was being done only by the public sector undertakings. But with the participation of the private sector, the production has really taken a big leap. That has been one of the factors. The other factors have been the government support in terms of the policy with regard to the Make in India, or as the Prime Minister calls it, Atmanirbharta in defense. And that has led to a number of companies, private sector companies, who have made huge investments looking at the policy which has been aimed now for a larger participation of the private sector. The 5 categories of procurement which are there, first 4 categories are reserved for the Indian industry only, which is just, the triangle, the prism has turned upside down, and the buy global has become the last priority, and buy make Indian with indigenous design and manufacturing is the top priority. So this has been an impetus for the industry to not only invest into infrastructure, but also into R&D. And as you would well appreciate, that defense is a very peculiar sector because there are no runners-up in war. And if you have to emerge victorious over your enemy, and we have very serious contenders on our east and the west side, so we need to have these technologies grown in-house and get the manufacturing capabilities of manufacturing these advanced systems all locally. So that is what has led to this increase of 1.5 lakh crore, which has gone into the production of defense equipment. But that is not all. We are now also exporting it to nearly 70 odd countries, and that also not just parts and components, but the full systems. So this is a complete ecosystem revamp which has happened because of the government policies promoting participation of the private sector and giving predominance to the orders priority being given to Indian companies, both public and private.
Right, so you talk about the important role played by the private sector in these milestones that have been achieved. Some 16,000 MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises are now part of the defense ecosystem. It's interesting how smaller enterprises are playing a big role in revamp of the defense sector. And we also know that MSMEs are where the jobs are being created in the country.
Yeah, so MSMEs play a very, very important role. You mentioned about 16,000 odd MSMEs, but one must understand that big companies like Larsen Kubro, Bharat Forge, and Tatas and Mahindras, they don't do everything in-house. All the orders, defense orders that are backed by these big companies, I can give the example of...
So the number is even bigger, sir, of the smaller enterprises coming together. The number is even higher than that,
Yeah. So almost about 65 to 70% of the work gets outsourced to the medium, small, and micro enterprises. And that is what is the flow down that happens. And one must not forget that MSMEs are actually the creator of the innovations, because they're not bound by the lethargy which the big companies have. And therefore, they are nimble-footed, they are able to invest, they are able to develop technologies, and they are the support to the system integrators, as the big players that we call them, to support them and then take it to the next level. And slowly and steadily, these MSMEs would also grow and one day aspire to become a system integrator themselves. So this has been a kind of a, not just a one-off, but it's creating a defense manufacturing ecosystem which starts from the MSME and lands up finally at the system integrator's doorstep. who delivers the final platform, whether it is aircraft, helicopters, ships, submarines, tanks, or the missile systems.
Right. If we look at what you referred to about the great milestone in defense exports as well, not just addressing the needs at home, in-house, what can make India's defense ecosystem more competitive? You spoke about certain issues with larger enterprises traditionally. Now there are these startups that are coming in with new innovations and energy. But looking at the entire ecosystem and comparing with the best in the world, what can we do to make it better?
Yeah, so once it comes to the global competition, we have to be at par, even better, because in defense, as I mentioned, there are no runners-up involved.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have to have a system that is developed, which would be not only better than your adversary, but it has to be at the benchmark of the global best. And for that, there are a number of initiatives that the government has taken in the form of Innovator for Defense Excellence, IDEX. There is Technology Development Fund from the DRDO, and also the funds that have been created by the government, which can support the MSMEs not only to upgrade their infra, but also to develop the path-breaking technologies. Now, the recent Ops Sindhu showed us the importance of how we could counter the drones attack that happened from the western border. And all those anti-drone systems were all indigenously designed and developed. Companies like Zen Technologies and the likes have come up with the products which are now being ready for export, because the success of that has led to the world standing up and taking notice of the technical capability of the Indian defense industry. And I think Ops Sindhu has been a shop window as far as the Indian defense industry and the manufacturing capability is concerned. And companies are now getting flooded with orders for exports, which just 5 years back, while I was still in service with the company, we were trying to run pillar to post, trying to export that. Now the customer is coming to us and asking for it. So that is a change which has happened, and I think a big role is being played by not just the big system integrators, but also the MSMEs, who are the driver of innovation and the builder of the technical know-how.
On that note, Commodore Mukesh Bhargav, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective.